good evening, and welcome to Men Speaking Their Truth. Listen, I know you have been tremendously blessed by our previous broadcast, and tonight promises to be just as powerful. I want to thank you for joining us tonight as the co authors of Faith for Fiery Trials, men impacting men with real, raw, and relatable stories. These co authors are powerful. They have come together in a very vulnerable and transparent way and sharing their stories in this first of its kind book of Christian African American men, and we are excited about that. We are thankful that you are joining us tonight, and I want to turn it over for brief introductory and welcome remarks to my husband, Sean Mason. My husband, and with 34 years, my God. My God.
30 years ago, I lost track.
So thank you all so much for joining us. Babe, take it away.
Okay. Hey, everybody. How we doing today? This is going to be great. I got three of my co-authors with me. Good thing about being a brother, you always got brothers that can help you out. So when you need support, they got. So that's what this project is all about. And Thomas Wright, who's the moderator tonight. Take us away, Thomas.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I had to tell you, it's a privilege and an honor to talk to Tony and Bernard. I'm used to having these conversations. I'm not used to moderating, but I'm gonna do my best. I know they're gonna help me.
Yeah.
But I got some questions, and I want to ask these questions so that your answers can help those who are listening or those who will listen later. So let's start off first with your motivation. What motivates you? And I'm going to direct this first to Tony. What motivates you to get up every day, one step in front of the other, and pursue?
Good evening, Thomas, and good evening, Bernard and John. First, I wanted to say it's a privilege and honor to be with you gentlemen on tonight. I am so grateful to God for the opportunity to be a part of this project, Faith and Fury Trials. But to answer that question, what motivates me is my family. I am a husband of one. I am a father of two daughters. And that puts me in a place where I'm a provider, I'm a protector, and I am a man. So what motivates me is to get up every morning to do what I have to do to make so I can provide for my family, so I could be an example for my daughters, so I can be a loving husband for my wife. So that's my motivation, my family.
Amen, amen. And Brother Bernard?
I agree with everything that Tony just said. I echo that. It's my family as well that drives me, my children, my grandchildren, my wife. And I guess to add on top of it, they're trying to be an example, not just for my family, but people within the community as well, my church family as well. And so that kind of pushes me forward with the people that I'm connected with to try and just keep going, as you say, one foot in front of the other one, day by day.
Yeah, and just to follow up with, and I wanted to start out with a broad, and then we're gonna go a little further, a little deeper. We're gonna start out and then come in. And so with
this is barbershop talk.
yeah, no doubt. Well, I don't talk about the barbershop because I need a shave, but we ain't gonna go there. So let me ask you then, Bernard, how do you think you or know that you best motivate others? Is it your words? Is it your deeds? I heard both of you discuss why you're motivated, but how do you motivate? Some people do it. I've heard of fathers who come home and barely say a word to the family, but they go to work every day. They come home. They take care of the family. Is it your words, or is it your deeds, or is it a combination of both?
For me, Thomas and Tony and Sean, it's a combination of both. Try and match up my actions with my word. Not to say that I'm perfect. I haven't made mistakes along the way, but I try and be consistent with what I say and what I do in front of my family, in front of the community. I keep saying community in front of my church family as well, and within my family that has broadened just outside of my kids and my wife. And so it's a combination of both for me, just trying to be as consistent as I possibly can with my words and my action. Not perfect, but just trying to stay true to my word and my actions.
And I think it's important. Well, I just want to say, I think it's very important. You said a key word, not perfect. I'm not dotting every I, I'm not crossing every T. And that way I don't anticipate or expect anyone else to do what I can't do. Just give me your best.
Yeah. Right. That's it.
And brother, and Sean, you was about to say something?
No, consistent, that's a big word right there. You know, we talk, if we really were in a barbershop and it was a little bit more people, I'm sure everybody would have a word that they would want to provide. Just to be consistent is something that you look for in your brotherhood, in manhood, and manhood training. And Mr. Perry, being an educator, you know, the people that look up to Mr. Perry want to see consistency. So that's a big word, Bernard.
Yeah.
And Tony, what you think?
Before Tony goes, I look for people like that too, Thomas. I look for men who, when Thomas Wright says something, Thomas Wright does it. When Tony Pender says something, Tony Pender does it. Now, and Sean Mason, when he says a thing, he does a thing. And so I look for people to put those individuals in my circle to kind of help me, because it helps me to stay accountable as well when I watch you say what you're going to do and I see that you're doing those things. Once again, I say we're not perfect, but we're striving every day.
Right. And brother,
and I would agree with that wholeheartedly. For me, again, I think it's a combination of both. What I do as well as what I say. I think what I say, my actions should back up what I do say. I try to live my life in a way of integrity, and as Sean said, be consistent. Again, we're setting an example for our children, for our community, for our church. In the professional world, I'm a manager. I have people looking up to me in that arena. So whatever I do or say to them, I'm trying to be consistent. I want my words to be true. And yes, I may slip and I may trip up here and there, but I don't stay there. I correct those actions and we move forward. And I think it's important.
I think when we fall, and we all do fall, I know we can all name times when even saved, I think I made some of my worst mistakes once I got saved. But you know, one of the things, trust me, the Lord said, you're gonna be saved. You want to walk this walk, or you're gonna do this a certain way, or there's a consequence. And he didn't tell me that in first, you know. But anyway, but you said something.
That's not in the manuscript.
No, ain't no manual for that one. But you said something. You said circle, and I know when I got saved, when I gave my life to Christ, the things that I used to do, I dropped for the most part. I dropped, but all of my friends that I had at that time, they dropped too. So I'm sitting there, Lord, you didn't save me. You didn't call me to this life. I ain't got nobody. What am I supposed to do? And what I found out is that he put me in a place where other men with like minds, meaning they were saved, but they were trying to live the life. They had their struggles as well. So, you know, it's all about what you can share. So I like that what you said when you said about your circle. Let me put it this way. In this, how easy is it, or do you find it easier now to make friends than you did then? Is it easier for you to make friends? And I'll preface that with this statement real quick. It was very difficult for me to make friends because most of my friends, I have one that I've known since kindergarten and one I've known since we were babies. and a few others along the way, and then the brothers that I've come to know, like you all, in the church. But I found that the older I get, it's more difficult for me to make friends. You know, your wife has a friend and she has a husband. It's like, well, Thomas, come on, we can go. I'm like, I don't meet dude. I don't know him.
Yeah, yeah.
You go. I don't know.
Sure.
So what you think, Tony?
Well, for me, I think growing up, it was easier to connect with people and friend people. But as I matured and older, I have always been almost like a lone ranger. You know, as it relates to relationships with brothers or outside of that. And it wasn't until later on in my adult years where I was able to start building those type of relationships and allowing them to come into my space. Because before it was just like me and me alone. And, you know, that's not good for anyone to be alone. So it took me some time, and it still takes me some time. I'm an introvert, so I'm really stay to myself. So, you know, it's not a struggle, but it's not always as easy. But there are brothers in the circle that I appreciate, and I'm glad that they're there, but they ain't out there with no signs trying to find no more, you know.
Yeah.
So that's it.
That's right.
I don't need no more.
Yeah, that's it. I'm good.
I agree with what Tony's saying. I agree with what Tony's saying. I'm very guarded of my space. I observe you for a minute before, you know, we can speak, you know, do the church thing, the men's ministry. I'll show you the respect. You show me the respect, vice versa. But when I say within my circle and I'm in your circle, it takes me a little time. Even before I got saved, I didn't gravitate to people, and people gravitated to me through the sports, through things I was doing and things like that. But I would consider, I didn't move away from those friends, Thomas, when I got saved. I just didn't do the things I did with them. Anymore. What I did was I started to shorten my time, per se. I still connected with my boys. I still did that, but I managed when I did it. I didn't go, you know, I'm not going to a party without my wife. I'm not doing that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going, who's having a cookout? My wife's coming with me. Or, you know what? I know what's going to happen over there. I can't go. I'm not going. I still love you, brother. You need me. I'll try and be there for you, all of those things. And so I've learned over time, and we know the scripture that iron sharpens iron. And so I think I'm definitely, I pay attention to the brother. I pay attention to how he moves, how he talk. If he's married, I watch how he treat his wife, his kids, and things of that nature, and just how he moves in church and in the community. And then when you have downtime meaning when we're doing things in church, like just having a conversation in the barbershop, like we're talking right now, I get a feel for individuals. I got a feel for Sean Mason because we went through some of the same things. He came behind me, and when I played at Howard, he came. So we experienced some of the same things. So we have a kindred and a respect and a love from each other through Christ. Through that, Tony Pender I met at Greater Mount Calvary Holy Church, and his children coming to my school at Calvary Christian Academy. The same with you. I got to watch you as a father, how you dealt with me as the principal, when you agreed or disagreed, when you dealt with your son, if he was doing something he wouldn't. So I got to observe those things. So I'm very observant of an individual before I just embrace them. So it's I watch before I do anything first.
Bernard, I know you're not trying to say that Thomas had a disagreement about Christian. I know you're not saying that.
Well, you know, Christian didn't want me to call his dad. I know that much. All I know is that I was like, Christian, I need to call you father. Oh, no, Mr. Fair, we good. I said, okay, that's all. I love having that. And Tony's girls, I never had to worry about that for the most part, I
angry.
could just have a conversation with them.
Yeah.
And the same thing with your son.
He scared them. They were scared of him. They ain't want to go into his office. I think he had to call maybe twice. And now he took care of most of it himself.
That's what I'm saying. So
we came
it depends on what it was. So you get to know people by different interactions through men's ministry at our church and just different social functions. And I observe. I don't have to be around Thomas. I just watch him, how he navigate. When we go into some different outings, different friends, and you wind up finding out, you know these people as well. And so, you observe those things. Homecoming for me and Sean Mason at Howard University. You get to observe and watch people and different things of that nature. So I watch and observe just like they watch and observe me. And then I kind of move kind of slow in that groove and go from there.
Yeah, that's good. And I think brothers need to understand that we can talk, we can associate, but there's only I'm not coming that way. We can't do that. When I standing out in front of, when we were in Park Road and I was outside and a brother pulled up there, we partied together. I did some stuff. So we partied together. And he pulled up and I said, hey, how you doing? We talked. I had my Bible in my hand in front of the church. And, we talked, we shared, exchange numbers. And I'm like, oh man, this is great. One of my old partners, we gonna get together, man. Maybe he can come to church, whatever. He called me not long after that, and we were talking for a minute. Then he said, well, do you know where I can buy some weed? Are you selling any weed? I'm like, no, I'm selling nothing. If I knew I would tell you.
You had to stuck in the Bible, Thomas. You had to stuck in the Bible.
I said. Yeah, I'm like, didn't you hear what I said when I told you in front of church? So it's that kind of craziness that's like, it's a test to you. But the one thing
that's what it is, Tom.
It's a test. But I've watched you guys, and I admire you, and I know that you stand for something. You stand for your family. You stand for ministry. You stand for God. So, I never have to. That's a great thing to know. And if I had an issue, I will come to you. Now, let me just ask, because both of you all have girls, Tony and Bernard, y'all have girls. And I just googly eyed at brothers who have daughters, because all I got is tar head. And but do you treat, and this is for the brothers out there who have daughters and sons, do you treat your boys different than you treat your girls?
Oh yeah.
As far as rearing is concerned.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
I'm harder probably on both. I'm hard on both, but I'm harder on my sons, because of what he's going to have to deal with in this society. Not to say that the girls don't have to deal with it. It's just different. It's just a different approach. Tony has 2 daughters, so his mindset may be a little different than mine. I have son and daughter, and I have 2 granddaughters now, and so I'm definitely dealing with my son a little different than I did my daughters and my granddaughters in terms of that. Even though I try and let them know this is what's going to happen, I tell my son this is what's going to happen. At some point in time in your life, this is going to happen. These things are going to happen at some point in time in your life, because first of all, you're an African American and you are a male. So yes, I definitely dealt with him a little differently than I did his sisters. Yeah.
And as Bernard said, I do have 2 girls, but I've always said to them sometimes I wish they were sons, so I could treat them a little different than I do them.
That's a good one, Tony.
But I thank God for my daughters. But again, if I did have sons, I'm sure there would be a different conversation. There would be a different actions because of what society is today and how society treats our Black young men. So it would be totally different. Yes.
Sean, you have boys too, but
I have boys and girls, yeah. So the girls, it's a difference in raising them. My daughters came along later on. Well, I came into their life later on, as far as being a stand-up, in their face person.
At one point, it was just nowhere around, to be honest with you. But the girls, I'm their favorite. Whatever daddy says is golden. The boys, like you said, they his, and you gotta pump them upside the head sometimes. I hope I'm getting.
Yeah. No, this
the
just
girls. It is a difference, Thomas. Yeah, we're in the barber shop, and the thousands of people that's gonna see this on social media. But yeah, it's a difference with the girls and the boys. The conversation is real with both, though. It's a real conversation either way.
Yes.
Because you're preparing them for different. I know my whole goal is I'm trying to teach you how to be a man. I don't care about that other stuff. I need you to know how to be a man, because when I'm off the scene, when I'm gone, can you take care of yourself? Can you do those things? I know thinking of a girl, I had one niece, and Bernard, he knows my niece, but I had one niece who I treated like a daughter, but I know one time she came and she had a scratch on her face, and I'm like, how you get that? And she's like, what? And I'm like, that scratch. How you get that scratch on your face? And she was going, this ain't nothing. How you get that scratch on your face? I want to know, do I need to go see somebody? Right. And she's like, no. So I know I would probably be basically no good. I always said if I had daughters, and I blame it on my wife, but if I had daughters, I would just, if it was time for punishment or correction, I'd be in the garage. Let me know when you finish. I'll come back, because I don't know that I can do that.
Hey, Thomas, one of the things tough. I think we do, one of the things that I think we do as fathers, those who have daughters, one of the ways we train them or treat them is we set that example before them, so that they do understand when they start relationship or, consider themselves grown. They know what a real man looks like. They know how a real man is supposed to treat his wife, and how a real man is supposed to take care of the home. So that's what my daughters get from me. They might not get that harsh discipline, but they get to see what a real godly man looks like, and how a godly man treats his wife, and how a godly man works in society and do what he needs to do and come home and take care of the responsibilities of a home.
That's good, Tony. That's good.
And do you find that you do the same thing? Because I want my boys, I want my young men to know how to treat their woman. I told them, I said,
that's it, Tom.
Paul and I, we joke, and when she, especially when they were younger, I would run up on her, I would kiss her and hug her, and all I'm getting is stop. I'm like, what do you think I'm supposed to do? That's how that's this. I'm trying to emulate in front of you how you're supposed to treat. I always said, I want your wife to come to me and say, you did a good job. I want them to know that they got the training, and just to follow up with that, Mr. Perry, and I had to tell you, and I'm gonna say it, now, you were a true blessing to me and to Paula with our sons. You were the principal at Calvary Christian Academy, and I always wanted a man to be in their educational sphere of influence. And when I saw how you dealt with people, when I saw how you just upfront, and especially with Christian, his whole thing was trying to measure himself to you because he wants to be taller than you. And that's the same thing,
And he has accomplished
he's
that.
He's taller than I am, but he's 6'4". So, but it was just how you treated it. And I watched that, and I thought, this is what I want. I want my sons to have teachers in their lives. And so we're talking about mentorship then, because we're not just here for our own children, we're here for others as well, especially those that may not have a man in the house. So Tony, how do you think, or how important is it for men to integrate themselves into a place where kids can see you outside of just your daughters? I know how your daughters love and treat you, but how do others outside?
I think it's very important. Growing up in Northeast DC, we lived in we lived off of M Street Northeast. Anybody know where that is? Shout out to M Street Northeast. But my parents were very involved in the community, so they always saw my dad outside doing something, either cleaning the yard, washing the hallways down, and he became like a father example to some of the other kids, not even just the men, but the girls too, that was in the neighborhood. And the community, we live in now, you don't see too many kids outside. But when I do integrate myself in my community, I get the respect from the young men. I get the respect for the young women. They see me with my family. They see me, outside doing things. And I think that's very important. They'll come to me and say, sir, my daughters don't even really say yes, sir. We just didn't raise them. We just didn't raise them that way. But, the kids in the community, they'll say yes, sir, yes, ma'am, to my wife. And they respect us because what they see on the exterior is, that's all they see. And they see me being involved in what's going on in the community. So I think it's very important because in that process, you can take on someone else who may not have a father, who may not have a mom. You can take on that responsibility and then be that example for them. If it's just, saying how they're doing for the day. We're not talking about providing the pain, but just being there and watching them as they go into the house all night, just making sure they get into their cars fine. I think things like that. I think it's needed today in our communities. Definitely needed.
Good. And
I
Bernard,
agree with Tony on that.
Because well, I just wanted to ask you because especially you, because you have been a principal. You are currently in the schools. How important is it for men, especially Black men, to be an integral part of the kids' education, not just our own, but all the kids?
It's as Tony said, it's critical. One of the things I try to do as an educator, and even to this day, is, like I said before, be there for kids, not just as an educator, but just as a mentor as well. I have students that, like such as your son, he knows if he ever needs me, he can call me. I'll call him to check on him from time to time. I think it's really critical in this day. It's always been critical, not just because of this, but because of the times that we're in. It's even more critical for our young boys and our young women to see men mentoring them, men who love the Lord, who know who they are, and it's going to be there. Not someone, because the worst thing we can do is start something and don't finish it. I always told my kids, if you start it, you got to finish it. My children couldn't start playing an instrument, Tony, and then quit. Nope, it's for the year. If you learn, nope, it's for the year. After the year's out, then you can go do something else. You start playing basketball, you're going to finish basketball. You chose it. I didn't choose it for you. You chose it. So we're going to finish this year out. When the year's over, you can go do what you want to do. And so we want to be consistent with that. It's critical in our community, in our church, that men of color are actively engaged and involved with young people.
Yeah. And I love
Thomas, I'd like to say,
go ahead, Sean, go ahead.
No, I would just like to say that this project that we put together is a form of men getting together and showing and telling story, even though it's going to be on paper, or I guess you even get it online, that we can mentor in so many different ways with social media, and we can touch more people. So that's one of the things about putting a project together like this. So Tony Pender can tell his story. Bernard can tell his story. Thomas Wright, Sean Mason. Shout out to Alvin Owens who's watching. We all can tell our story, and we can touch different individuals all the way around. So I just wanted to touch on that. But go ahead, Thomas.
Great. And that's a good thing. But that's not just in the community, right? That's also in church. You find a lot of churches now. Well, at least when I was initially in church, it was a lot of old people, and then you had the little kids, and who came because they were with their grandparents more than likely, and they had to go to Sunday school, and they had to sing in the little children's choir, but it was really no mentorship there. And I think at Calvary, you're given the opportunity to be a part of ministry that does minister to kids. So Tony, what do you think? How do you are able to accomplish that in your church?
I think
church, of course, but
the one thing is to be involved. Not just being a Sunday goer, which basically means I go to church on Sunday and I come back home with my family and I'm just involved with my family. Being part of different ministries. For myself, me and my wife, we hear the family ministry at Calvary. We're on the just not children, but we're involved in the marriage ministry. Within the marriage ministry, we used to be anyway. With the marriage ministry, you can connect with the husband, the wives, and the children. Just being a part. My daughters are parts of the youth ministry, so we either be able to have relationships with some of their, peers on that level. I think you just have to be involved. You can't be isolated. You can't be by yourself. You got to be involved, and that's the only way that you can. Because young people want to see somebody that's real. And they want to know that somebody cares. I think as my daughters have been through school, me and my wife were so involved in their schooling and in their education. Most of their friends think we're cool parents, because we're so involved and they give us the respect that they don't even give some of their own parents, but we have to check them on those levels. But I think just being involved and being there, I think Bernard said, being there and being consistent.
Yeah, and Bernard, I know you can speak to that, especially because well, a lot of the kids came through CCA, and then they see you in church, and they see you. There's Minister Bernard at school. You're Mr. Bernard at church. We got Minister Bernard. So, what do you think? How do you feel about that?
Well, to the kids, I'm always Mr. Perry. It does not matter where I'm at, even to parents to this
I
day.
said Mr.
But
Bernard, Mr.
Tony,
Perry.
I still call him Mr. Perry. I call him Mr. Perry sometimes.
Tony hit it on the head.
It took me a
Thomas,
long time,
and
Tony.
Sean know, with our kids and whatnot, man. With Great Amount Calvary Holy Church, the shout out to our pastors, Bishop Owens and co-pastor Susie and Bishop Brown and executive pastor Krista Woodhouse. Shout out to them. They do a great job with making sure programs cover the gamut of your family, from older people to young people to young adults to babies. And so you have to be involved in your church / community. You got to find something. You got to be involved in every ministry at church, but find something to start. Find something to be involved in, to connect. Kids watch you. They watch people. They watch how you move. They watch. And so being a part of the family ministry with Tony them now, who's over that with my wife and I, we took kids down to the college fair downtown. And so, different things like that. You get to know them. And kids watch you, and Tony said it right. They want to know that you mean what you say. They want to know that you really care about them at the end of the day. All that other stuff that people think children want, those things, at the end of the day, they want to know that you're going to be there for them and that you love them. At the end of the day, I find nothing else stayed true to me at Calvary Christian Academy. That's in my educational journey, even now in the public school system. Kids just want to know, Mr. Perry, at the end of the day, do you care about me? Do you care about me? And I'm going to shout out to Alvin Owens, to one of my favorite people in the whole wide world, Michael Owens. He is one of my favorite people. Now, I can't say he's the favorite because I got to deal with Christian. I got to deal with Tony's kids. I got to deal with the I can't say, so I have to say one of my favorite. I got to deal with Sean Mason's kids. So Michael Owens is one of my favorite people in the whole wide world. Love him.
Yeah, he one of my favorite. He one of my sons. And God knows Christian adopted Alvin and Barbara Owens.
Yeah.
He can go over there anytime. And are you coming home? No, I'm sleeping over here. A block away.
Exactly.
And everybody loves Alvin Owens. So
I mean, we put absolutely.
Yes.
I had the deacons actually integrate into the youth department. So the deacons have to interact with all the phases of the youth department, because I thought it was always important for the men to be accountable and for them to see me, because otherwise they're being taught by all women. When you walk in phase one, my wife is over phase one, then all of her volunteers are women. So then I had, now 2 deacons go. So they're on the floor and they playing Tea Party and It's hard to get up off the floor because some of them knees ain't the same they used to be. But just the fact that the kids they're in there with the kids. They really did appreciate that. They really did appreciate that. So I'm going to switch over because we done talked about motivation and we've talked about mentorship. Now I'm going to the fun one, marriage.
Ooh.
Both of y'all yeah, I know. Sean, get ready.
Now I'm getting hot flashes.
Right. Because we all have been married for a certain period of time. I think, Bernard, you've got 34 years. Is it 34 or 35?
It'll be 36 in July. It'll be 36 in July.
36. Okay. And Tony, you have 34.
No, I'm going on 27. In September, it'll be 27 years.
And how many, Sean, and you have how many? How many years with well,
I lost track. Now, marriage, Nicole and I met at the great Howard University. I guess we were teenagers, freshman year, sophomore year, 17, 18 years old. And she won't leave me alone. I've been trying. She won't let me go.
You know
how many years, Mason? How many years?
I want Eldon.
26 years married.
26. Thomas, how many you got?
I just want y'all to know that I got 30 years, and in December of this year be 31.
Wow.
And I want you, Elder Nicole Mason, to know that please, I tried to set Sean up for a good question. He almost messed it up. Well, let me ask you. Let me ask you this.
Nicole said 34 years.
Look, just a side note. Yeah, I had to get used to calling Bernard because I had called him Mr. Perry for so many years, and he was out of Calvary Christian Academy, and I'm still walking around the church, Mr. Perry, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm older than him, Bernard. So I like Bernard better. But let me ask you.
It's all good, Tom.
Right. What makes your marriage tick?
Oh, that's a good one, Tony. Well, it's a few things, but
help these.
There's a couple of things. For me,
out here.
I want to say for me, it's the friendship. We started out as friends, and we've continued to be friends down through this 27 years. Have we always liked each other? Probably in the 27 years, no. But we have been friends for 27 years. So that's the one thing that keeps it ticking. There's a whole other bunch of things I can call out, but we're on Facebook Live.
I'm gonna call it out, Thomas.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell it, Sean. I'm gonna tell it, Sean. I'm gonna tell it.
And I can say friend with benefits. Friend with benefits. That's all I can do.
I'm gonna tell it, Selena. I'm gonna tell it.
Go ahead.
I agree with everything that Tony said, but also and I said it because we're in the barbershop, so I'm gonna tell you, I said the sexiness of my wife. Now obviously we're older, but my wife still looks good to me. I saw it the other day, that picture everybody saw. I said, Lord have mercy. She looks pleasing to me whenever I see her, man. I'm trying to tell y'all, I'll be 60 years old Sunday, Mother's Day. My wife looked as good to me as she did when we met some 30 plus years ago on the Howard University campus. I'm telling y'all, so that adds to that. Obviously, being able to, Thomas, to navigate difficult times.
Yeah.
Being able to get through family issues, the death of a child, being able to, the death of my youngest daughter took my wife and I to a whole nother level in terms of our love, our prayer, everything. And so I'll just throw that in there as well. And at the end of the day, we choose to stay committed to each other at the end of the day, because she could go her separate way. I could go. We choose. We made a choice, and we continue to make that choice every year. every year to stay together. Not because I'm looking at somebody else or she's looking at somebody else. It's because we make a conscious effort to do that every day.
And that's a good point, because I remember when we got married, we both committed to that divorce was not an option. So no matter how hard it was going to get,
there you go.
Divorce was not an option, and we lived by that. And as Bernard said, I appreciate my wife so good. What life has confronted us with. I'm a 6-year cancer-free survivor, and when I went through that process, man, if it was not for my wife's support and my wife being there, pushing me on and encouraging me that God was going to do what God did, which is heal me, I don't know exactly where I would be. I didn't have the perfect example of what marriage was. When I got married, I didn't understand what a husband was and what the responsibilities of as a husband was. So God had to teach me, and some godly brothers were the examples for me. So we had to have that commitment to each other that we wasn't going anywhere. And I think that's the foundation, with Jesus Christ being the crux of it all. But the foundation of it is, we decided no matter what, we're staying together.
That's
and
great.
Just to add to that also, Tony, I meant Thomas and Sean, you got to make sure, I said again, that you got the right people around you for your marriage as well. I know if I pick up the phone and I say something out of the way to Thomas Wright, he's going to check me. Tony Pender's going to check me. Sean is going to check me. And so it's important that you and your wife have people within your marriage circle that you can glean from, lean on, observed. And obviously our pastors are somebody that I've always admired their marriage. Not a perfect marriage, because both of them will tell you that, but I've always admired how they treat each other publicly, and I was privileged to see it privately as well. So I've always admired that. Obviously my siblings who are married, my mother and father's marriage taught me something as well. When my dad passed, my mom was a different person when he passed away. She was a totally different person, and I found out truly what love was when my father passed and left, and then my mom eventually followed him a few years later. I found out through his death and how my mom responded to it. I just watched it. I said, oh my God, and so I watch and I take things from different people, from your marriage, the Masons, the Penders. I'm an observer. I watch how people move, how they talk, and I use it. I'll say, okay, we can do that too. Let's try that. It's not a perfect formula, but there are things I take from everybody to try and use to make my marriage better.
That's it. Some nuggets.
That's good. Sean, have you heard this, Sean? And I remember this being a pastor came to Calvary, and he made this declaration. He said that he liked chocolate cake. I mean, he loved chocolate cake. But when he became a diabetic, he found out he was diabetic. He couldn't eat chocolate cake. That don't mean he didn't love chocolate cake. So he equated that with marriage. When we get married, we forget that we're still human and that we still have eyes. And if we don't watch ourselves, we can find ourselves in predicaments that would be detrimental to probably our lives, because I know our wives probably kill us, or just to our marriage. And so I love what Tony said. Divorce wasn't an option for me. It just wasn't. I had to find people that I could go to and say, I'm having an issue, I'm having a problem, I don't know how to answer this. I couldn't ask my father and mother because their relationship didn't last. And so I found people like you said, Bishop co-pastor, or Melvin and Gertrude Smith, who were wonderful examples of marriage. Elder Allen and Ernestine Allen. And so if you notice, there were older guys, older women who had been together much longer than me, who I thought could teach me something. So Sean, how do you continue to do the things you're supposed to do and be outside of your marriage and continue to keep yourself from that chocolate cake?
While you're at homecoming, Sean Mason.
Right.
Good old Howard. Good old Howard. Good old Howard.
I'm glad we're in the
remember,
barbershop.
Nicole is right beside you. Yeah.
Oh, is it? Dr. Elder Nicole Mason Esquire. Yeah. So, Thomas, you touched on a great point because chocolate cake, everybody loves chocolate cake. And as we got older, we can't do the things we used to do. But communication is the key to any relationship because I had examples. My mother and father are still together to this day. They've been married for years, 70, 80 years old. And in my chapter, I write about the great men that I had around me, but I was a damn fool. Let's talk about, I get to Howard University. I'm following, one of my visits had to have been 1982. But Bernard, you were still there, 82. One of my visits, and Derek Cavasilo, DC, and Bernard and them walk into the coach's office. And now they just played a game. Bernard probably had 25 points without 3-pointers. And that's what we remember. They didn't have 3-pointers then. And I want to go to Howard. So you try to follow, like you said, there's been people in my life that have been examples. So I go to Howard University, I meet Nicole, but I'm still a fool. But I found God, and God said, I'm going to slow you down. I'm going to put you around brothers. My first men's retreat, Thomas was my roommate. So I followed Bernard to Howard, followed Bernard to Calvary. I hook up with brothers like Thomas. I meet Tony Pender, such a sharp brother. Brother stays on his game, keeps his wife close by. So I'm like, brother, I'm observing all of this, but I was a complete fool until I found Jesus. Jesus kept me from that cake. So to my eyes, Nicole is fine and still is fine as she was when I met her in 87, 34 years ago. But that cake was out.
Way to recover, Sean. Way to recover.
That cake was out there, but when I finally found Jesus, I'm good now. You can put all the cake you wanted from me. I ain't needing it.
Yeah, brother Bernard.
Yeah, that's critical, that Jesus piece, to help you do your rethinking. But at the same time, when that cake is there, remember our flesh is weak. It's important. I strategically made sure I had certain people with me during those times. I would have a Thomas Wright with me, a Tony Pender with me. And they may let me get near the cake. Yo, Perry, let's go, man. Hey, how you doing? No, we out. Let's go. They don't ask twice. And I did the same thing for you. You did this. I did the same thing for Tony that he did for me. Now let's roll out. Now this enough right here. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. And so I put people that I knew that would keep me from, since our thing is the cake, chocolate cake, vanilla cake, strawberry cake, cake with swirls, all kind of
whatever cake it is.
So I had to make sure I had people with me. Yeah, it's good barbershop talk.
And Charles, let me
look, and we all have had cake that we didn't.
Yes, sir.
We didn't like it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So just because it looked good, don't mean it is good.
It's good.
That's right, Thomas.
Go ahead, Tony.
So I'm looking at,
that's right, Steve Owens Brooks. I hear you.
I'm in a class on Saturday for husbands, and we're studying out of this book by Jimmy Evans, The 4 Laws of Love. And the first law in the book is the law of priority. And I think as husbands, when we understand that law of priority, that our wives are priority and they come first in front of everything except God, is God our wives. I think that helps us to refrain from tasting some of that chocolate cake that's been put before us, because we understand that our wives are our priority. So in everything we do, in every action we take, in every thought that comes through our minds, because they do come through. And when we do see the nice chocolate cakes walking on the street or in the mall, we go back and think that we want to be respectful to our wives and we want to honor God. So I think that helps us refrain from, tasting the chocolate on the fingertip. You don't have to really bite the cake. Sometimes you just whip the cream on the cake.
Watch it, Tony. Watch it. Watch it, Tony.
So I think when we understand that law of priority, and we know that our lives are our priority, it keeps us from getting our fingers dirty.
He preaching now, Thomas. He's starting to preach.
Look, I know Selena get ready to say, so what's on your finger?
They clean.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this then, because I think there's some brothers out there that need help. I admire what you said, Bernard, and I do feel the same. There's certain photos that when I look at of my wife, it's just like, good God Almighty, it's when we, that's I put my heart in her hand, and she has the ability to caress it, to care for it, or to squish it. And that's the trust I've given her. And, so I wholly believe that, and we have to follow that. So help some of these brothers out here. What are two of the most challenging areas, in your opinion, that a marriage can go through, and how do you overcome them?
This to me?
Because there's some brothers listening to this. Yeah, Bernard.
Communication.
There's some brothers listening to this. They need some help.
Communication is, I believe, is at the forefront of that. Quickly, because we don't want to run out of time. In the beginning of my marriage, my wife, by nature, women by nature are talkers by nature. You have some men, very few men can out-talk a woman. But for the most part, I said what I had to say and I moved on. I didn't elaborate on it, and she wanted more conversation. And so I had to learn to meet her where she was in terms of conversation. You have to talk about everything, even when it hurts. Don't leave any stone unturned. Don't turn over every stone. If you feel a certain way, be respectful about it. Same thing with your wife. If you're feeling, ladies, if you're feeling a certain way, let your husband know it. Do it respectfully. Don't wait till you get upset and then it all comes out.
Good.
Don't do that. And then money, finances, managing your money, managing your money, how you save money, how you spend money. You just want to be, you need to sit down and have a conversation about that. My wife pays the bills, but I'm the one that saves the money.
Good.
Good. Here's the money, but I'm the one that saves it, so that when we need something, it's there for the most part. And so you have to learn to navigate that, and not, if you're the type where you need to control everything and have everything, you and your wife need to be in agreement with how you're going to do that. There's nothing wrong with your wife controlling the money. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't have a problem with that, but I'm the one that saves and different things. We be in agreement. I can't stress that enough.
There you go.
Be in agreement. And when you're married and you're saved, God is in the middle of all of that all the time. You can't remove God. God is in the middle of your communication or lack thereof. God is in the middle of how you manage your finances.
Yeah, and just to add to that finance part, even in your navigation of it, you might have to understand that you're not the best at it. So for most brothers, of course, we want to handle finance, especially if you're the breadwinner in the family. You want to handle the finances, but if you don't manage the finances right, it's okay to allow your wife to handle the finances. In our marriage, I started out handling the finances. I still did the bills and everything, but I wasn't good at it. I had to humble myself and say, hey, my wife is better at this. The money is still in the house, but another captain is at the ship that needs to navigate the ship through these waters. So we allow her to take over that, and it's been great ever since. So you got, as a man, it's okay to say somebody else is better than you in your relationship with your wife, because she's there as a helper. She's there to help you and push you to the next level, and you're there to do the same for her. So it's okay to do that. And the other biggest issue in marriage is sex. And we're in the barbershop, so let's talk about it. With sex, that comes to communication. Brothers, we look at magazines, we look at different websites, and we expect our wives to perform as to what we see on television, to what we see in social media. And that's social media. That's television. You have to respect your wife for where she is. So if she can't perform to what you see, or she don't look like what you see in the Victoria's Secret magazine, then you got to clear your thoughts and clear your mind. And then you have to communicate to your wife what's good for her and what's good for you. Because sex will tear up.
Very good, very good. And
you can't bring in your street thinking of sex into your marriage.
That's
Some
very
of us
good.
are streets and our wives are not, so we had to be there for them.
Yeah. Right, brothers. Please don't have your wives hanging from the ceiling fan, and she going around and see, because now she gonna fall.
Hey, wait a minute, Thomas. Wait a minute now. She can hold on to that fan. Wait a minute. She can hold on to that fan now.
You better make sure that fan. You better make sure that fan. You make sure that fan is latched up there real good. You can be fixing the ceiling.
If you both agree, you both agree. Now, as long as she agree to it, let us win.
That's it, Tony. Hey, Thomas, she might want you to go around the fan a couple times.
My knees ain't good.
Communication, yes.
Yeah. The Bible says, "How can two walk together unless they be in agreement?" You have to come to an agreement.
That's right.
You have to come to an understanding, and I like that. It doesn't matter who sits down, who's the better accountant to pay the bills, but even if it's your wife, you still have the responsibility to sit down with her and know where the bills are, know what's out there, not be surprised by anything.
Right.
You need to understand that. Yeah. Steve talking about something. Get your chocolate home.
I saw it, Thomas. He said, "Get your cake from home."
Hey, we got 4 minutes left. Hey, fellas, we got 4 minutes left. Elder's going to come in a minute. So, Thomas, end up with the questions about, Bernard will cut us off. A short snippet of your book. Don't give the title of your chapter. Is that right, Ben? Yeah, so go ahead.
Because
how do you want us to go, Thomas?
I had, I don't want to because I had a whole section on manhood. I was getting ready to throw right at y'all, but instead of that,
well, we can do that next week.
Yeah, that's next week.
I'm excited about the opportunity.
Be a part of this project.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Excited about the opportunity. Excited for all the brothers that are authors. I'm excited for the opportunity for this book to go worldwide to help men of color in particular, but all men, because we all got different stories. My basis of my story is about how I'm managing and continue to manage the loss of my daughter, which took place 4 years ago.
Yeah, and I'm a ditto, Bernard. I am so happy and glad to be a part of this collaboration, this first time collaboration with these 10 brothers, these 9 brothers from Calvary. My story, and I won't get my title, but my story, I'm praying that it will help that man or that woman who's dealing with some whole church issues. My story is not, I was delivered from drugs or alcohol, but I've been a church boy all my life, and there's some frustrations in that. So I want to talk about that in my story. So that's my story.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And I think with all of these, we don't know what each other has put down on paper, but I believe through the collaboration, through just each of us, there's going to be a lot that the brothers who read it, even the sisters who read it, are going to get from it. And I think there's going to be some healing involved. There's going to be some decision making that I think we're going to set them up to get answers to, and everyone is going to be for the better. I have no doubt that this collaboration, this book is going to be, it's anointed. It's anointed, and it's going to do a great work. I saw the young man's question and saying some of these questions you have to ask before marriage, which is true. I think everyone should go to a marriage counselor before they get married. But there's a lot of brothers who did not have that opportunity, or no one told them to get a marriage counselor before you go into it. So I think that's a good point. After you get married,
here comes the principal. Everybody be quiet.
Oh, okay.
All right. Elder, barbershop over.
Barbershop is shut down.
Let me tell y'all, it took everything I had in me not to break in on some of this stuff. Okay, I know my sisters we can't wait to have our conversation. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, it took everything I had in me not to move this chair over and say, wait a minute.
I can't wait till y'all have y'all conversation too.
We're gonna have our conversation.
We're gonna be
right. In 2 or 3 weeks, we want you to stay tuned with us. We are marching this book launch down. I'll be sharing information about that. And we're also opening up a Facebook group just so that the men can continue to have these kinds of conversations more in depth. And we can go as long as we want to go in the Facebook group. And so please stay tuned, share out this video, invite people to join us on next week. 2 more of our co-authors will be on with a different moderator. Yeah. And so we are thankful for you all coming on. Thank you, Thomas, for moderating tonight. You did an excellent job.
Excellent job. This is easy with this kind of guys.
Exactly. Elder Tony, you were awesome. And Minister Perry, you were a rock star. Everybody loved Minister Perry. Okay. That's my big homie. He said, that's my homie. So thank you all so much for joining us tonight. This conversation has been rich. And, we needed a little bit more of the latter. All right. Everybody wants to talk about sex. Okay. And so I really appreciate Elder Tony for raising it, and we're going to have more of these conversations because Sister Melody is correct. These issues need to be discussed prior to marriage.
Yes.
And so we really, that's part of what this project is all about, to open these kinds of conversations in such a way that they are normal and they don't make people feel, isolated. Feel bad because they want to ask questions and they want to know. That's why we have so many people who are hiding and so many people who end up in perversion because they just don't have a forum to really talk about these issues in an open and transparent way. So we're going to have a Facebook group for the men to do just that.
Yes.
And we'll decide whether we let whether I will decide whether I'm gonna let the women into we might come in there and bum rush it.
They still say Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers and the wives and the daughters.
Yeah.
Happy Mother's Day.
Yeah.
And shout out to Bernard. We both share a birthday on Sunday, so we both share birthdays on Sunday.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to you.
This is a great group.
Yes, sir.
I think this group of men that we got together, I don't know how you can follow that, Elder, but we got a group right here.
Yeah, and you all, like I said,
it's gonna be some brothers that follow.
Yes.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, they comment. Yeah, they see. We just opened the door. That's all. They hungry for knowledge.
Yeah, and you all will be mentoring those men as they come through the process. So thank you all so very much. We are excited. You'll be to register for our book launch. We'll have that information out so that everybody can register. Of course, it's free, but since it's virtual, you have to register so you can get the information. We'll be sending that link out. It's going to be phenomenal. If you've ever been to any of my events, they are always power-packed, highly anointed. God shows up in a phenomenal way. And this book launch promises to be one of those that is going to be epic for the records. I promise you. So you want to register.
Yeah.
We put the link out. And so you all, Thomas, I'm turning it back over to you to close it out. And if you all have any last remarks, they have to be quick so that we can shut it down. But I turn it back to you, Thomas, to close us out.
I honestly can tell you that I could just go for at least another half hour.
Oh, without a doubt.
Still wouldn't touch all the conversations. It's been a pleasure sharing with you all, Tony, Bernard, Sean. It's really truly been a wonderful experience to discuss. And even though we do talk, it's good to have this kind of forum because I honestly believe somebody heard something that they needed to hear that's going to help them. That's going to help.
That's
right. So is that okay? So look forward to next week. 2 new brothers next week. I know it's going to be just as exciting. So that way we can chat stuff back to them, our little comments and our questions like they did to us today.
Tony Keith, check your email.
Yeah. And we also want to make sure that you all know that the wives are coming up. Yes.
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 The wives be right there. I'm going to be right there, Tony.
Right there.
I'm going to be right there, Elder. I'm going to be right there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I got you, Bernard.
All right. Thank you all.
As a matter of fact,
God bless you. Stay safe.
See you here in, bro.
Good evening.
All right.